Hello. Welcome to my channel on YouTube. I decided to do this spread here because it's slightly longer, and this is the last thing I'll be doing today. I've already called in my guides, but let me just reaffirm all of this. Please give us all the information we most need to know now. So today, I want to share, or I feel very guided to share on this topic of reclaiming your power and balancing the scales of justice, whether that's within us or around us. And it's really coincidental that today's full moon in Aries. I came across this post on Instagram from Alex Miles. Let me just show it to you. Clearing full moon. Intense, purifying, healing moonbeam deeply activates energy, bringing dramatic shifts. Release from the frequency of past pain, aligned with love, peace, and harmony. Revelations will close toxic chapters. Old cycles are ending. And divine, transformational new beginnings move into the space. So I'm feeling really called at this moment as well with this new moon energy, or not new moon, full moon energy, because it's so powerful, particularly around the topics that I care about a lot, which is the decolonisation and reclamation of the soul. And for people who don't know what that means, it means that I'm actively, as someone, when I say I'm decolonizing my soul, I'm actively calling my power back from any system, person, or idea. Often it's a mindset that may be draining my power, or it's often also part of this cycle where when we feel like we don't necessarily have what we need, maybe we go out and take that from other people and we decide to make them part of our empire. That's the act of colonization, and decolonization is important for everybody, whether you are the person who does or descended from people who do that, or the person who has experienced the other side of that. So I've been drawn to these 3 cards today to really help us reclaim that inner power and balance that scales of justice. So I have surrender and healthy relationships. I'm going to bring this to the camera. Let go of relationships that don't serve you, including unavailable or toxic people. You deserve to be treasured by others and to be surrounded by positive people. This is very interesting because it does not apply in just, let's say, a love relationship. This could apply in any relationship, right? At work, at home, friendship circles, and it's not calling us to immediately take an action. It's saying to give this, to acknowledge what it already exists and surrender that to the universe, that the energies that love us all unconditionally, and it's neutral. Surrender to what is. Flow with what is instead of fighting it. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. So this could be triggering for some people because often in the face of injustice, it could feel very upsetting to feel like, to be in a situation where you can't change it and you can see harm happening. At the same time, we often see the world through a lens that is tinted by our own energies at the time, and if we are in an energy of panic, of fight or flight, that can often change what actually is. which is often in cases of harm that both sides don't actually know what is happening, and there is a cycle that both sides are triggering for each other. One side that's more violent just doesn't really know how to handle it and takes it out. The other side that is more maybe more what some people call codependent, doesn't know how to draw boundaries. Not because either of them are good or bad, but often it's just not what we're taught, you know? And what is that we are all learning, or hopefully in our own way. The final one is surrendering to divine timing. Sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. So this one is very much related to, in this context, spiritual like manifestation, but the way I see it, this card, is often justice feels like it's not happening fast enough. You know, we see people in power who are potentially mishandling their power, and we're often wondering, where is the justice in this situation? And divine timing is a concept where the universe does things in its own time, because there are lessons and events that need to happen for every party involved. And so maybe it's not the timing that we personally want, but we're being asked to trust that there is a greater plan for what is happening. In the meantime, what can we do, right? We can do something about what we have power over. So, what do we have power over in these situations? Okay, I'm getting a lot of cards here. It seems like we all have power over lots of things. Let's start with this one, Queen of Cups in reverse. So, this to me is signifying in this deck, it is the energy of someone who has mastered their internal landscape. Someone who is compassionate, from a wise place. And it coming out in the reverse is showing me that maybe there is an imbalance in this compassion. Maybe sometimes we mistake compassion we mistake being a doormat for having compassion. There's a difference between what a lot of psychotherapists call like compassionate detachment versus enmeshment, which is when we get sucked into the situation, we're so empathic and we just become doormats in a way, do what another party wants, and we give away our power. So I guess we're being called to think, what are those points in life where we can call back our power and approach the situation in a more personally fulfilling, compassionate way. Next, we have the Empress energy. So this is the energy of creation, of rebirth or new birth, birthing new fruits, I want to say ideas and new ways to nourish the people in our lives, and often even ourselves. What ways are we nurturing ourselves? And we have power over what we choose to nurture. Are we giving ourselves what we need? Not necessarily just in the situation where there is an injustice, but in our entire lives. How are we in our self-care? Next, we have the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords is often a card that talks about tending to a wound, tending to a heartbreak. And Lindsay Mack does a really good kind of series on this. And she talks about how it's not necessarily about wallowing in the pain, but it's holding space and acknowledging to ourselves, at least, where we experience pain. What are the wounds that we need to tend to? And it comes back to this: how are we looking after ourselves emotionally and mentally? Because the swords represent a mental energy. Now we have the Magician. The Magician wants to remind us that we are creative beings by nature. We all have the ability to invent a new answer to a problem in our lives. We also have the ability to create new solutions. Now, we have the Emperor. The archetype of, interesting how the Empress and the Emperor both come up. But the archetype of the Emperor is, in this card and in this deck, someone who has a very strong energy of fire and warmth. I'm feeling someone who is in tune with the universe and aligned with their inner power. And look how there isn't, like, this Emperor doesn't necessarily have any fancy crowns or anything. They really just have this very confident posture coming from their inner self, and the listening to the universe and acknowledging that maybe the universe itself is separate from the heartbreak, the unhealthy relationships, the injustice. The universe itself, it's just the energies, and we all have it within us to be creating, to be nurturing, to be compassionate, and to have deep inner belief in ourselves. Finally, we have the Ten of Cups energy. This is the energy of, well, the Ten of Cups represents quite a few different things. The tens represent the end of a cycle. Maybe it's an end of a cycle in an emotional situation to do with emotions. So this could be surrendering those unhealthy relationships and breaking free from them once and for all. It also is a card that symbolizes fulfillment. It's reminding us that we have what we emotionally need within us, and we can hold space and just feel our feelings, and we will feel seen by at least ourselves, and that we are enough. It's trying to remind us that we are enough. All right, so this is what we have within our control. Let's move on to the energies that are most influential in this kind of situation. I feel like that card wants to come out. So, we have the Queen of Swords and Temperance. Oh, what an interesting card. This is a repeating card for me. It keeps coming out. So on the left we have the Queen of Swords. Let's bring it up to the camera. The Queen of Swords is someone who has mastered that mental, intellectual connection to intuition. They can see through illusions. Their sword is refined, and they're able to cut through these illusions, are able to see the deeper insight and the truth for what it is. And often in these situations of reclaiming our power, balancing the scales of justice, the person who needs to surrender these unhealthy relationships, and actually it's both sides, right? We are learning the lesson of what it means to see clearly, to really embody this energy of again, I'm hearing the words compassionate detachment, but not detachment, compassionate truth and healing in the mental, intellectual realms. We're making sense of what is. Now, the other thing that we see, or the other most influential energy in this situation, is the Temperance card. In this deck, the card is a symbol of integration. This person is integrating the spiritual with the subconscious, so the superconscious and the subconscious. And that subconscious is, if you don't necessarily know what that means, it is commonly referred to as the shadow, or the parts of ourselves that we don't like to see, or that we don't like, or that we're afraid of, or that we feel like we hate. And in humanity in general, what is happening is that we have all of this light, and she's really wanting to experience her full self, right? At the same time, she needs to integrate it with what she is not. She needs to face the things she's afraid of, to just acknowledge them and let them transmute. And oftentimes in these situations where we are decolonizing our souls, and we are looking inwards and outwards to see what ways we have given our power away, where we are not being independent or self-governing, what does that reflect about us? Are we, can we see through the illusion that actually we aren't victims for life? Maybe in this situation, or a whole bunch of situations, we played the role of the victim because there was a lesson of resilience that we chose to develop, and it's not fair at the time. But I often look back at times when I have personally suffered from systemic injustice or hate crimes and stuff like that. And I'm not saying this to be insensitive. I'm saying this from a place of, I've thought a lot about this, why did I go through X and Y situation? Then I finally came to a point where I felt, well, what is that it's already happened, and it's in the past. If I had to go back to, if I want to look at what it is for itself in that situation, at that point in time, at that point in the universe, in my life, in that person's life, or a group of people's life, or the system, those were the only choices available. And I would rather have taken the same path that I took, instead of being the person who was inflicting the pain, even if they don't even know that they are. But that's my personal thing. And then when in situations when I have maybe unknowingly done something that was harmful to someone else, I realized that if I went back to the situation, I could not have necessarily known what I needed to know, until I learned that lesson, which is what it was. And then I was able to face that side of me that I didn't necessarily like, bring in the healing energy, the light, letting it go, holding space, seeing beyond that illusion that I am that harmful person or that harmed person, and realizing that I have what I need right now in an emotional realm. All right, so I'm being called to pull a card for guidance, a guidance card. What guidance would you like to give anyone who's watching this video today? I'm feeling this card. Initiation by air. Air again is the realm of intellectual energy, paradigm shift, changing the perspective through which you view the situation, and heart transmission. So, I personally have not received this card before, so I'm going to double check the meaning in the book for the deck, because this is an oracle deck. Everything is unique and created by the author. So we're getting, you have a strong and powerful mind. The mind can be a great asset. It can bring comfort, peace, and strength as you take to your spiritual journey. It can also be a dark and destructive force, undermining your power, making you doubt your own heart, and keeping you trapped in fear. The mind developed without a loving spiritual practice can be a frightening weapon rather than a liberating sword. How will you choose to use your mind power? Right? In these situations where we feel like our power has been taken from us, we don't feel like we're able to self-govern, we don't feel, and essentially we feel colonized in some way. The mind, and what some people refer to as the ego, can often confuse us and make us overthink and go down rabbit holes and think, why are they behaving this way? And like, I personally went down some rabbit holes where I had to just figure out what exactly was triggering some other person to behave the way they were behaving towards me. And then I found, like, after I knew why, and it wasn't even related to me, it's like the mind just did not rest. So, at the same time, it's a very powerful creature, because through refining our mental energies, we can see through the illusions that maybe are thrown at us. The surface, we can see beyond the surface to the deeper meanings of things that we go through. And I feel like I want to do the invocation for this. And if you would like to, you can hear my voice as your own, as one of the people I love to learn from, Benna Belwin, says. I'm going to bring this card up. I call upon the unconditionally loving ones to help me empty and refresh my mind, renewed in eternal love. May I express my freedom in making wise decisions that create joy and love in me and in the world. I ask for divine mercy, compassion, protection, and instruction to assist me in bringing my mind into a loving consciousness. May the light of the divine shine unobstructed through my mind, bringing peace to the world. May the unconditionally loving helpers of humanity help bring light, healing, and joy to the minds of all. Through my own free will, so be it. Now, the second card that came out was the paradigm shift. And I remember receiving this card. It is a card that calls us to take a different perspective on the situations that we may find ourselves in. And it is about an evolution in our belief systems, where we are challenging old attitudes and questioning previous expectations. We can make great leaps forward in just a moment, and it's really amazing because the energy of the full moon in Aries is right now, as I'm recording this video, is really helping propel this forward. And if you're watching this at a different time, the energies themselves will sort of be documented by this video. You know, when you watch a film and you feel like it affects you, I feel that energies in that way can also be documented. The world you thought you knew can suddenly break open and a whole new world can become your reality. So, again, I want to read the invocation for this. Through divine grace and unconditional love, I open my mind to the higher truth of love. May my mind be cleansed from conditioning and gently open to the light of love. I am willing to unlearn what no longer serves me. I am willing to receive teachings and information, guidance and assistance from those beings of pure light and unconditional love that can assist me on my life journey now. May my paradigm shift bring me closer to peace, love, empowerment, and happiness. May this process be held in guardianship by the universe, with grace, mercy, and tenderness. Through my own free will, so be it. So, I want to double check something before I continue this reading. I want to see whether... Do live videos get saved on YouTube? Okay. I think they do for at least 24 hours anyway. The last one, the heart transmission. Realignment of compassion. And that transmission of unconditional love. I personally have not received this card in this deck before, but it's really interesting because I have decks that are just all about this energy. It's saying your heart is capable not only of giving and receiving love, but connecting you to a great network of beings that resonate in your highest frequencies, the highest frequencies of divine love. Through your heart, you can receive information and guidance from the networks of light that fill our universe. As you learn to open your heart to receiving those transmissions, your ability to work with group consciousness in a loving way increases. You shall affect humanity in a loving way, influencing the collective rather than allowing the lower frequencies of the collective to overwhelm you. Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful card. Because it's telling us that even though that actually we are able to connect with the unconditional love, power, and energies of the universe, even if you don't necessarily believe in a deity or a religion, we are all connected to life force energy. And there is in this life force energy I guess here it says vibration or frequency or network that's filled with the type of, frequency of that resonates with love that is unconditional. And it's reminding us that we can tap into that. The invocation is here. I have gratitude now for the heart transmission that guides me through universal love into the group consciousness that can best serve the greatest good and my own divine destiny. I ask for protection, insight, clear knowing, and clear feeling to guide me through the many groups that I will love and work with spiritually in this lifetime. May all my group involvements be constructive. May love, light, and power increase in me and upon the earth through all group work blessed by grace. May the unconditionally loving ones help all group endeavors attain spiritual success through my own free will and divine love, so be it. So this was the Lightworker Oracle by Alana Fairchild, if you are interested. Often I find that people who are into this stuff are Lightworkers. And I do feel like that is what... So I'm drinking this tea because I also want to do a tea leaf reading. I feel like that is kind of what we needed to hear from these decks. Is there anything else that we need today? So I think it's just the tea leaves. Alright, so I feel like there's an additional last message in these that we want to be conveying. So as I'm drinking this tea, I've imbued my energy into it, right? It's not just like some tea leaves and... Did I do 2 or 3? It's not just like, oh, she's reading some leaves and shit. Like, no, my energies have interacted with this tea. I want to keep this. Yeah. Alright, what encompasses the limiting belief? What limiting beliefs do we want to release in this clearing full moon? We want to release the idea that we don't have a choice and that we have to fight blindly. We want to let go of things that do not fulfill us and have the courage to search for what is spiritually fulfilling on a soul level. And at the same time, we want to trust our inner knowing, our intuition, that we do know what we need on a soul level. This is the intention that we want to set. If you are working with that, what intentions we want to set in this full moon, if you are working through reclaiming your power and balancing the wider scales of social justice in your life, in your community, or within yourself. The Archangel of Mysteries also wants to remind us that we are not alone when we face our shadow or the things that we do not like in ourselves or in other people. Like, we are not alone. And actually, when we don't like something in someone else, it's reflecting something within us that we need to acknowledge that is mirroring on another side. And we're not alone in this situation. Our higher selves, our deep soul connection to source energy is lighting the way for us. Thank you. What a beautiful message. I really hope this stays on the channel because it's just too beautiful. Alright, so I have my tea leaves. What I'm seeing is that there is someone who was carrying a burden, but that burden is being lifted off the shoulder, and they're flying now through the air. It's given them that lightness of being, and it's a reminder that the universe has our back. The universe wants to help, and sometimes we just have to ask. What else is there in we also have something that looks like a bee here, and it looks like it's going to come and pollinate this whole plain, this field of flowers. You see that? And that could be us. Maybe we are bringing new energies and healing energies to our own communities. And even if we don't know it, so because often the bees, sorry, this thing just needs to stop doing that. The bees don't even know that they're doing this. They're just doing it because it's in their nature. That's the message that I'm getting. And I feel that's it. It's a confirmation that the burden's being lifted and it's natural for us and we're doing what we need to be doing. All right. So that was my reading for this full moon in Aries. Reclamation, spread. Reclaiming your power and balancing the scales of justice. Tapping into the unconditional loving energy that exists in the universe all around us and that we are connected to. Releasing any mental cycles, mental drama, mental stress. Surrendering that to the universe and taking this leap of faith with the universe to bring about a paradigm shift.